Welcome into PFF Studios. Austin Gayle here with Mike Renner, the host of the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast. Today, we're looking at our latest big board, the top 32 players in the 2020 NFL Draft. This could change as pro days get announced, but this is close to the final product here, Mike.
Yeah, it is. And it's because, we've seen pretty much everything in terms of on the field, the testing. Now, a lot of guys didn't test the combine. So the pro days will play a factor in this with a lot of guys who, sort of skipped the combine or did a handful of drills. So there is still some TBD, but this is about what's going to look like because some of these guys are set in stone.
Fantastic stuff. Let's get right into it. Joe Burrow, number one overall. He's been there pretty much since the end of last season, even midway through this past season. He's been the number one overall player on PFF's board, and for good reason.
Yeah, this one is set in stone. It's been set in stone since about mid-season. The one that really put him on the map, the game for me that changed everything was the Florida game. He goes up against secondary, C.J. Henderson, one of the better secondaries in the country, just buries him. 21-24, not a single throw that looked off target in that game. He just pinpoint accuracy in every single other elite defense he faced throughout the season. Just put him in the dirt. So Joe Burrow, he is number one. Age a factor, yes. Arm strength, not great. Those are just probably his two biggest knocks. But if those are really it's nothing on the field that's knocking him at this point. Yeah. That's why he's number one.
Great against elite defenses, pinpoint accuracy, good inside and outside of structure. I mean, Joe Burrow, talk about one of the best quarterback prospects PFF's really ever seen. Chase Young of Ohio State, the edge defender, is at number 2 overall. You see him as the second best player in this class, the best defensive prospect in 2020.
So this was not quite set in stone because Tua could jump him barring full health, but he's going to have an asterisk here. We'll just put him on right now. He has an asterisk next to him with that injury. Chase Young, though, at number 2, no one else is going to be jumping him. No other position player. He is that good. We feel that safe about his projection, too. We've seen in our grading, pass rushing from college to pro translates better than any other purely, college projection. And we've never seen anyone pass rush the way Chase Young did. Highest grade we've ever given to a college edge defender, that one. It looks like a sure thing on the edge.
High floor, high ceiling, and this guy's got it all. With Tua Tagovailoa, let's jump to that asterisk. If he does get a clean bill of health, he's the third best player in this class.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Clean bill of health is the biggest thing there because that hip injury is a very, very serious injury. And it might have long-term ramifications. But again, you're drafting a guy for a rookie contract. So trying to maximize value, and you can't maximize value anywhere better than the quarterback position on a rookie deal. If you need a quarterback in this draft class, go get yourself Tua Tagovailoa. He did not play bad football at any point in his college career, dating back to his true freshman year at Alabama. One of the highest grades we've ever seen for a career for a quarterback. Tua, number 3. That one, he's either going to be 2 or 3 when it's all said and done.
Let's jump to Jeffery Cuda of Ohio State, cornerback 1 in this class. I think he solidified that with a very, very good combine from a measurable standpoint. Tested well. I thought his stance at the podium was pretty good. He took a pretty aggressive, confident take at the podium there. But Jeffery Cuda, fantastic in man coverage, can play in any scheme in the NFL. I think 4th overall, might even be too low. This guy is just very, very good.
Definitely confident, definitely a little brash. That's what you want your corners. You don't want them a little timid. Yes. You want the guys who are in your face. That's a Cuda. Played cover 1, cover 3 almost every single snap at Ohio State. The 2 most played coverages in the NFL. He's a guy who looks like he's going to translate right off the rip in the league. The 40 wasn't great, just a little under 4.5, but that's ticking the box easily. But the vertical, broad jump, both the best of any corners there. You see that explosiveness.
Length, height. This guy's got it all. Jeffery Cuda, really, really impressed with him. He's going to be in that long line of Ohio State cornerbacks in the NFL that do translate. Jerry Jeudy, the Alabama wide receiver, he comes in at 5 above CeeDee Lamb. He's the wide receiver 1 on PFF's board, and he's the 5th best prospect.
Yeah, best route runner in the class. A little better speed than CeeDee Lamb. That's probably the biggest separator there. Can play in the slot, out wide, and move him anywhere you want. Dude just gets open. And the dropped issues this year were a little overblown. Still didn't even drop 10% of his catchable targets this year, which 10% is pretty much the threshold for good or bad hands, and he's been well under that over the course of his career.
CeeDee Lamb right behind him, though, the Oklahoma wide receiver. I think he's a very complete receiving prospect, has good size, good athleticism, speed, catch the ball after the catch, really can do it all at a high level.
Yeah, the little things about the receiver position that might not show up at the combine, that maybe don't translate well to a scouting report, CeeDee Lamb does well. The way he sets up defensive backs, his ball skills, the way he attacks it in the air, all those things, he is as good as it gets in this entire draft class. And he's incredible after the catch. Second most broken tackles of anyone in the draft class.
Isaiah Simmons, you have him here at linebacker. I saw playmaker in PFF's latest mock draft. I think that might make the most sense. This guy can really do it all. Played a ton of different alignments at Clemson. Linebacker, free safety, strong safety. This guy can really do it all. 7th best prospect.
You can go S, you can go CB.
There's anything. Whatever you want.
Maybe. He can do whatever you want. And that is the thing. With his size, with his length, with his explosiveness, he flips the script on offense. This is what I like to say. He you have to account for him if you're an offense instead of defenses having to account for offensive personnel because of where he can line up, because all of a sudden he can get to the QB in a blink of an eye as a blitzer, because he can line up over your wide receiver in the slot and then play man coverage on him. Again, he takes back sort of that advantage for the defense. These positionless players on defense, that is Isaiah Simmons. The only reason he's not higher is just because it's a pretty stacked top of the class. All these guys we had top 5 grades on all the way down to number 7 there.
I really do like Isaiah Simmons. A creative defensive coordinator in the NFL needs to take advantage of this kid because I really do think he can do wonders in the NFL. Andrew Thomas is PFF's offensive tackle 1, the 8th best player on the board. He did not get beat out by Tristan Wirfs. Didn't get beat out by Jedrick Wills. We really do like Andrew Thomas.
And it's because we need to see it. We need to see you do it in pass protection at the college level because we've seen how important that is when projecting to the NFL. Thomas has done it. 3 straight years at Georgia, true freshman at right tackle, sophomore year at left tackle, and then highest grade of any Power 5 tackle this past season. So we've seen it. We've seen it in the SEC. That's why he's OT1. The other guys might be more freaks, freaky a little bit, but Thomas still more than good. He checked the boxes athletically more than good enough to be our OT1.
Still a young player, improved his grade every year of his career. I really do like his grading profile. Don't let the combine throw you off of Andrew Thomas. He also came in with 36-inch arms. I don't know if you brought that up, but those are some wings, my friend. Number 9, right there with him is Jedrick Wills Jr. of Alabama, an explosive, athletic offensive tackle. Projects right out of the gate, he's going to play right tackle. He's going to start for some team, and he's going to be one of the better run blockers on their team because this guy really has it all.
Yeah, he flies around the football field. I mean, Tristan Wirfs tested out better athletically, but Jedrick Wills on the field, it translates immediately. Has the most big-time blocks of any tackle in this draft class. Those are the blocks that get the highest grade in our grading system. Just dominant, put you in the turf blocks. He loves to throw some of those. Still kind of a work in progress of pass protection, but he flies out of his pass sets, has the agility, the mirror ability to match up with any edge defender in the NFL. I think he's really a guy who's only scratching the surface at this point.
Henry Ruggs III, the Alabama wide receiver, rose up the board a little bit after a really good combine, ran a 4.27 40-yard dash, very explosive in the jumps. Ruggs, wide receiver 3 for PFF, also a top 10 player on the board.
It wasn't the 40, though, that moved him up to 10. It was the vertical. 42-inch vertical. Yes. The guy, a lot of guys are fast in a straight line and can get deep, but he can go up, too. He's a guy who's not limited, while he's only 190 pounds or so, he's not limited to just ground play. He can go up and get it. He can match DBs at the catch point, and I think that was the biggest thing for me to see, just because you didn't get a lot of usage from him in that Alabama offense. Did not see the target share that other guys did, but when he did get targeted over the course of his career, a passer rating when targeted of over 150. One of the highest, I think it was the highest in the entire draft class. He is just, when you throw at Henry Ruggs, good things happen.
I mean, speed is always the first thing you bring up with Henry Ruggs. I even did so, but this guy's contested catch ability, ball skills, route running is all very underrated. I know you scream out that 4.27 40-yard dash, but what else this guy can do is special, why he's a top 10 player. Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle 3 and the 11th best player on PFF's board, a very good athlete. Love what he did at the combine, practically broke every record they had there, but Tristan Wirfs, 11th.
And the trajectory over his career. We mentioned Thomas, why he was 1 is he was good as a freshman, good as a sophomore. Like the upward trajectory was there, and it was already good. Wirfs struggled as a true freshman. Was the first ever in the Kirk Ferentz era to start at tackle as a true freshman, but he did struggle.
1999.
Yeah, so that's 2 decades. The only one to ever do it. Struggled though. Next year he got a little bit better. This year got a lot better. Only 1 pressure in his last 7 games of his college career. Another guy who the arrow is just pointing up. This whole tackle class, the arrow seems to be pointing upwards.
I talked to Tristan Wirfs. He said the most indicative jump, or no, the most indicative drill at the combine that translates to play is the broad jump, and this dude lit it on fire.
That's right.
Derek Brown, defensive interior of Auburn, drops to 12. I think some people see this guy as a top 3 player, a top 5 player in the draft. He's at 12 largely because positional value and facet play.
He's a high floor, low ceiling defensive tackle prospect. In my opinion, he's not as rare as some of the other guys above him. That's why he's down at 12. You feel great about him translating to the NFL. In run defense, he'll make an impact right out the gate. I have no doubt about that. But as a pass rusher, guys who win purely on that strength, physical dominance, tend to just struggle in the NFL. You kind of have to have that secondary move, have that plan B, which usually is athleticism. For the best interior pass rushers in the NFL, the Chris Joneses, the Fletcher Coxes, the Aaron Donalds, they both ran much better 40s, much better 3-cones than Derek Brown did. So I think you're kind of looking at a limited pocket pusher who's a sure thing in run defense. And yes, that still has value, but I don't think it's top 10 sort of value.
Jeffery Cuda, another defensive tackle, comes in at 13, the South Carolina product, a former JUCO product, character through the roof. Everyone loves interacting with this guy. The interviews have been very good for him. He's also an athlete, long. If you built a defensive tackle in a lab, it'd look a lot like Jeffery Cuda.
That's very true. And the thing about him that still is worrisome, like you said, all the athletic traits, all the physical tools, plays high. At 6'6", it's just difficult to stay low, and you saw him taking advantage of there. Played a lot of nose tackle actually at South Carolina, which is probably out of position for him. He doesn't have the versatility to go everywhere up and down the interior line of scrimmage like Derrick Brown does. He's probably limited to over the guards or over the tackles. And just playing high, you're going to be limited in run defense. You're not going to hold up to double teams as well. And then rushing the passer only has a couple of moves at this point. So just raw. And that's why he's down at 13.
I don't think it's brought up enough. He is very raw, but still pretty productive at South Carolina. You find a way to teach this guy 2 or 3 more moves, play a little bit lower, you're talking about a very good player in the NFL. Josh Jones, offensive tackle of Houston, a group of 5 player coming in here at 14. We really do like Josh Jones, 14th overall in the class, good in pass protection, really came on this past year. Love the trajectory for Josh Jones.
Really like is an understatement. I love this guy. This guy's one of my favorite tackles. If you ask me to say who's going to be the best tackle as a rookie, I'd probably say Josh Jones. I think he is good in terms of pass protection. His hands are that talented. Doesn't have the athletic tools of some of the other guys in this class, isn't near the athlete, is a little on the older side already, but Josh Jones knows how to get the job done in pass protection. Highest grade we've ever given to a non-Power 5 tackle in our 6 years of doing this.
Very impressive. Had 4 different offensive line coaches at Houston, finally put it together in his last season. I think his best football is ahead of him, and it's already pretty damn good.
I would hope it's ahead of him. But
yeah, it's definitely ahead of him. All right, Christian Fulton, cornerback of LSU. We got back-to-back LSUs here, but 15, we have Christian Fulton. I really do like Christian Fulton. I think he checks some boxes at the combine. I think he had an injury-plagued 2019 season. His 2018 tape, though, is very good.
That's the thing. So we're just going to group both these guys together here right now because 2018 tape for both these guys is special. These are top 10 players in this class if they built upon that 2018 tape and looked better in 2019. Yep. But both had ankle injuries throughout 2019, hampered them, put some bad on tape that I think people are kind of overrating at this point because they looked injured. People are questioning Fulton's speed when I didn't have any sort of question marks after watching him in 2018 about his speed. He goes to the combine, goes sub 4.5, goes sub 7.3 cone. I think both these guys are special coverage players when healthy, and I think you saw it back in 2018. Fulton, a very much an all-around corner, and Delpit as well can play anywhere as a safety and add to your coverage and be a playmaker. But again, the missed tackle is going to be a thing with Delpit. Just going to have to live with over a quarter of his attempts this year he missed. That's rough, but coverage is where both these guys win.
I mean, context matters when you're looking at grading, when you're looking at evaluation. Knowing that these guys played hurt this past year, I think is very important. Exactly. Going back to the 2018 tape, I think can have a ton of value for Christian Fulton and Grant Delpit. Let's go to the next 8 here. Leviticus Chennault Jr. of Colorado fell down a little bit after a combine, 4.59 40-yard dash, but that's not the reason. Injuries coming up again for him. He's had multiple surgeries over the past 18 months. Can this guy get healthy? He's going to play a very injury-prone role at the next level, getting a ton of passes near the line of scrimmage. I think that's the worry with Leviska.
Yeah, the 4.59, you can scratch that out. I mean, he pulls up with the groin injury, but it's the consistent injuries that keep happening with him, and the role you want him in is feeding him the ball, letting him go after the catch, screens, jet sweeps, things like that. He can produce much better than any other wide receiver in this draft class, in my opinion, on plays like that. But he's also going to take a lot of hits in a role like that. And if he keeps getting injured, if he's not going to be able to protect himself and not going to be on the football field, you're just going to have to worry. So he slides down a little bit, but I still think athletically special talent.
Fully healthy, this guy can do a lot of damage in the NFL, especially in a role that really highlights his strengths. Xavier Mckinney, versatile safety of Alabama. I don't think enough people are talking about his versatility. Isaiah Simmons is like the master class of versatility. But Xavier McKinney, over 200 defensive snaps played at free safety, strong safety, and slot cornerback over the past 2 years. This guy's done a lot of different things and done them well.
Yeah, he did about the same thing that Isaiah Simmons did, but he wasn't 238 pounds. Yeah. He's more safety weight, which is more normal for a safety to look that way. So I do think Xavier McKinney, the all-aroundedness has value. The ability to, our slot cornerback got injured, throw him in at slot cornerback. That has value in the NFL. And we talk to our analytics guys, and they say that has a ton of value. Like being able to sort of mask your lowest weakness is a very, very valuable thing because it's a weak link proposition defense. Guys are going to attack where you are the worst at. So Xavier McKinney really helps in that regard. Grade over 79 in run defense, pass rush, and coverage each of the last 2 years.
A.J. Epinesa took a little bit of a tumble after a rough combine for him. We set low expectations for Epinesa going into Indianapolis. He's not going to win with sheer athleticism like these other guys, but he even fell below those expectations, falls to 19 on the latest board.
It was rough. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was rough. But the start was really bad for him. And I don't think that's who he's going to be. He's not a snap jumper. He's not a get-off. He doesn't win with that. He wins with his technique. He wins with his length. He wins with his strength. and he wins with the ability to bend for a bigger guy like that. He gets on the corner of you, you're toast. I still think he's a top 20 player in this class. I still think he is the second best edge rusher in this class. I mean, you look at what he did as a true sophomore in the Big Ten was special. I don't think you produce like that as a 19, 20-year-old unless there is something to you. Obviously took a bigger step back in terms of playing a full-time role this year, wore down a little bit towards the end of some games, but A.J. Epinesa, you're not gonna fall in love with the physical traits. The testing is gonna be worrisome, but I still think you're getting a productive NFL player.
Jordan Elliott, defensive interior of Missouri. I don't think enough people are talking about him as a first-round caliber player. Jordan Elliott, great as a pass rusher. It wasn't Derek Brown, Javon Kinlaw that was the highest graded defensive tackle in college football last year. It was Jordan Elliott.
And he tests out at the combine as a plus athlete. That's the other thing. It's like he has the production, has the athleticism. What are we missing here?
Yeah, exactly.
He's just a very good football player. I get that you only have about a year and a half of tape on him. His 2018 tape, looked not a lot like the 2019. Had some very bad games there in 2018, and he did feast on some lesser competition this year. But man, Jordan Elliott, you can't fake the grade he had this year. 92.4, one of the 10 highest graded seasons we've ever seen from a defensive tackle. At that point, doing it in the SEC.
C.J. Henderson, Florida cornerback, I think had some outstanding plays on his 2018 tape. I think some lackadaisical reps. I think he was going through the motions in 2019. Missed some things in 2019, but still a very good player, a top 25 player in this class.
In terms of pure talent, he's above 21. He's nearing the top 10 in terms of just what he brings to the table athletically, physically, what he can do, and where he could go at the position. But again, 2019 was scary. Some reps on tape that you're just like, why? That he should not be having. He took a regression from 2018 to 2019. Now, he did have an injury, but some of these were not injury related. Him loafing after plays, getting lost on pick plays, and just not chasing. Those are rough. And he gave up 6 catches over 40 yards. So a little scary there. But you can't teach what he brings to the table in terms of man coverage. If you're a man-heavy team, you should be coveting his skill set.
Yeah, pure man coverage ability and athleticism. This guy has it all. I think he's up there with Jeffery Cuda in that regard. Curtis Weaver, Boise State edge defender, another Group of 5 player, cracking the top 32 here. Very productive at Boise State. Great as a pass rusher. And I think he didn't test super well from an athletic standpoint, but I mean, the 3-cone was good for Curtis Weaver. I think he did check some boxes there.
His 7-3 cone at his oddly squatty body type is
weirdest
great
body type in the class.
And you see it on tape, though, because he had 20-plus sacks and hits each of the last 3 years. And that's because he can get to the top of the pocket and then get back around. His ability to corner, even at that oddly, odd weight and odd shape, is special. And I think the way he wins with his hands translates well with how strong his hands are, how powerful he is as an edge rusher. He's not a guy who's going to win with athleticism, so if he doesn't test great in the 40, don't worry about it. That 3-cone, 7-second is a really, really good time for a 265-pound man. This dude's still a top 25
When we
player.
talked to him, he said he has some of the best bend in the class. I think he showed that with the 3-cone. And when you can bend that edge, when you can win with your hands, I think that will translate, like you said, in the NFL. Julian Aquara, edge defender, not getting the love that Keelavon Chason is, but these guys are very similar from an athletic standpoint. Both of these guys are very, very good athletes, freaks, if you will.
Yeah, I will say freak. I will say that. So Julian Aquara, over 34 inch arms at the combine, did 27 reps on the bench.
Oh, man.
That's a combination you don't see a lot. And only 250 pounds to have that much power. He bull rushed 350-pound Isaiah Wilson this year for a pressure, 370-pound Mekhi Becton this year for a pressure. He brings the juice. Now, runs hot and cold as a pass rusher. Had some games where he just didn't quite see it, but he drops into coverage a lot. They didn't utilize him in a great role for him to be a productive pass rusher at Notre Dame this past year. So he still had a 90-plus pass rushing grade. We believe in Julian Aquara and what he brings to the table as an edge rusher.
Turn on the Virginia tape, by the way. Julian Aquara's Virginia tape is kind of absurd. T. Higgins, wide receiver of Clemson. He comes in at 24, a big body receiver. If you're going to go get a big receiver in this class, T. Higgins is your guy. I think he separates better than people give him credit for. Maybe he has better speed than people give him credit for. I think T. Higgins is still a top player in the NFL.
Turn on the Virginia tape for him, too.
Oh,
ACC
really?
championship game, running away from cornerbacks. He has legit downfield speed. Might not be 4.3 speed, but I bet at his pro day, or I bet he goes sub 4.5, is around the range he is in. When he gets away from guys, he's a long strike. Kind of like Mike Evans, where when he gets behind you and he's at his top speed, you're not really catching up to him, even if he might not be, the most blazing wide receiver, even if that be Henry Ruggs, So T. Higgins has incredible ball skills, caught 15 to 23 deep targets last year, highest rate of anyone in this draft class. He is he's a different type of wide receiver than we see here with that big body and big catch radius.
All right, jumping through the next 8 here. The last 8, Jalen Rhaegar, another receiver on the board here, coming in at 25, a speedster. Did not test where we thought he was going to test, but I think he maybe added some bad weight to get over 205 pounds or wherever it may be. I think Rhaegar, though, on tape, very fast, accelerates at a different level than some of these receivers in this class. Really do like Rhaegar as a receiver prospect in the NFL.
He had the kind of Jeffery Cuda-esque combine, whereas the jumps were incredible.
Yes.
The 40, not as great, but the raw explosiveness you saw in his jumps, over 40-inch vertical, over 11-inch broad.
You saw it on his tape, too.
And you saw it on his tape. And you get the ball in this guy's hands, good things happen. He is a playmaker. TCU just struggled to get the ball in his hands. They didn't scheme the ball in his hands, and that's the problem. You got to get the ball in this guy's hands, or you got to have someone that can hit him down the football field, because those are the places that he's going to win at the next level.
I also think he has underrated ball skills, ran into some problems this past year, but I think he attacks the ball well in 2018 and 2019. Trayvon Diggs, cornerback of Alabama, wingspan for days. This guy's got some arms for sure. I think he's a very talented cornerback. Those teams that love long corners are going to love Trayvon Diggs.
Again, scheme limited, and that's the thing. We kind of project when we do this, we project you going to the scheme that's going to fit you best. We're not going to put this guy, ask him to play a lot of off zone. We're not going to do that to him. We're not going to ask him to do things like that. We're going to put him in press. We're going to put him at the line of scrimmage, going to put him on the outside, and we're going to let him get into the body of the receiver across from every single snap, because that's what he's the best at. His length is just difficult to escape, and then he might not have the greatest long speed, but if he gets his hands on you at the line of scrimmage, he's just going to be in your hip pocket that entire route.
Really do like Trayvon Diggs' tape. All right, Denzel Mims, the Baylor wide receiver, coming in at 27. This guy's been a riser the entire pre-draft process, blew up the Senior Bowl, blows up the Combine. I mean, at this point, first-round lock.
Yeah, in the Senior Bowl one-on-ones, one rep that he didn't win decisively, that we tracked in that, which is pretty ridiculous considering athletically, ticked every single box you could feasibly want at the Combine. The 6.66 3-cone.
Devil's 3-cone.
Sub 4.4 40. He has it. Explosiveness shows up on tape again and again. Limited route tree at Baylor, but he ran a more diverse route tree at the Senior Bowl and looked like he had been doing that his entire life. So yeah, Denzel Mims, 27 might need to be too low. That might need to go up at this point.
I heard he blew up the interview process as well. I think this guy knows his X's and O's. Jalen Johnson, safety here, no. Cornerback for Utah.
What are we doing? Come on.
Yeah, come on. Cornerback for Utah. This guy, very, very talented down the football field. I looked it up. He allowed a sub 20.0 passer rating when targeted over the past 2 years on throws of 10-plus yards. This guy just doesn't give up big plays. Very disciplined in that regard. I think he has some good athleticism as well. I think Jalen Johnson, an underrated corner in this class.
So what I talked about with C.J. Henderson having those kind of red flags that you kind of worry about in terms of how he attacks opposing wide receivers and the loafing reps. Jalen Johnson's the opposite. He has all the intangibles you could want at the position. He's kind of out for blood against the wide receivers going up against every single snap. He wants to manhandle them. He wants to be there at the catch point. He wants to make plays. Jalen Johnson has that. Not quite elite athleticism. Only goes 4.5 in the 40. Just middling there. But I think he makes up for it in terms of his tape study, putting that into action. We've seen him, only a true junior, get better every single year of his career at Utah.
Plays the ball really well, instinctive, aggressive. Yes. You love that. Love to see that in a cornerback. 29, Justin Herbert, quarterback up Oregon. Not a top 10 player on PFF board, though he probably goes inside the top 10, if not falls a little bit after that. But Justin Herbert, really do like a lot of his game, but the concerns, that fire. Does he have that fire? Can he step up? Can he rise to the occasion on the biggest games, on the biggest stage? And we just don't really see it.
So I will say this. The offense he played in Oregon was not suited to Herbert's strengths. It was not a great offense. It was a feed the playmakers offense, but they didn't have a little Michael James. They didn't have the playmakers that they had in the early 2010s. They just did not have a lot of guys that were going to do a lot for him after the catch. So his numbers aren't going to look great, but I still worry about when it was crunch time against the better defenses. And when he had to go downfield and the offense was going down the football field, he did not take good chances with the football. He did not make good decisions and was not accurate. He crumbled under pressure more often than he rose to the occasion. Point to those games at the end of the year, the Utah Conference Championship game win, the Wisconsin win. He did more with his legs than with his arms in those games. And yes, he's fairly athletic for a quarterback. Yes, you could probably use him in your running game, but you're not drafting him top 5 for his work in the run game. Yeah. You're drafting him top 5 for that arm, and the arm just didn't consistently win enough at the college level.
All right, jumping to the third here, Brandon Ayuk, the wide receiver of Arizona State, JUCO prospect, or JUCO transfer, I believe. I think very explosive this past year. I mean, this guy is a big play threat waiting to happen. I really do like what he did when the other Arizona State, N'Keal Harry left. I think 2019, his target share improved, and you saw the production come with it.
Ayuk, very much an after-the-catch sort of wide receiver, very shifty, very explosive, in and out of his breaks as a route runner. Still a little raw in that regard, but I do trust the athleticism. Another guy, 4.5 40, not how he plays on tape. 40-inch vertical, a big broad jump he had at the combine. He's another guy who's not necessarily fast, but he is definitely explosive. Get the ball in his hands. I think another guy who the arrow is really trending upwards. He didn't get the targets when N'Keal Harry was there, got the targets this year and exploded onto the scene.
I still question his separation at the intermediate level, but underneath and blowing the top off, he can definitely do those things. All right, Marlon Davidson, edge, more of a defensive interior, probably projected at the next level, but Marlon Davidson, a beefier dude. He added some weight before the Senior Bowl, blew it up, dominated some reps there, and Marlon Davidson, I think, has been another riser in this process.
Yeah, listed 288 at Auburn. Comes in 297 to the Senior Bowl, 303 at the Combine.
Okay.
So he's getting bigger. He might be 340 by the season.
Waffle House.
So Marlon Davidson, but the thing is he didn't lose any athleticism. Still ran about a 40 and about a 5-second there. That's great for interior defensive tackle. Has a ton of pass rushing moves. The only worry I had about him was sticking on the edge. Would he be able to win the edge? He didn't show that consistently, but was a great bull rusher at Auburn. Uses his hands extremely well. Knows how to use leverage. So I think as a 3 technique at the next level, again, you're talking about a top 32 player on our board.
All right, last guy here, Netani Muti, the guard, the mythical being from Fresno State, a guy that said he can eat a 10 by 10, 10 patties, 10 cheese from In-N-Out. This guy's a monster. Talk about a guy I want to go to Waffle House with. It's Netani Muti, put up 44 reps at the bench press in Indianapolis. A very impressive player. Health is just still the major concern.
Health and the fact that he's a guard. If he played a more valuable position, we'd be talking about maybe a top 15 player in this class. That's how special I think of him as a guard prospect, but had a Liz Frank injury this past year, Achilles the year prior, only played something like 300 snaps over the past 2 seasons, so not a lot to go off of, but it was dominant. Every single one of those games was dominant. And the good thing was, you got USC, you got Minnesota, he got the bigger schools on the schedule each of the last 2 years. You got the Power 5 schools they played there at Fresno State, not necessarily the slaps he was going up against in their conference. So I do think Netani Muti, in terms of what he brings to the table, is a power run blocker and in pass protection, where he was excellent throughout his career. He's #1 guard in our board.
If Netani Muti finds a way to play 800 plus snaps through the first 2-3 years of his rookie contract, that's a steal. This guy's going to be a bona fide steal in the 2020 NFL Draft. That's going to do it for the top 32 players on PFF's latest big board. But for more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to PFF's YouTube channel or check out 2-for-1 Drafts, Mike and I's podcast. That's going to do it for today, folks. Thank you.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.